It's the Britt Rochelle Show. Do do do. This is the story of a girl named Britt. Britt, back in 2016, was a huge fan of the Stanley Parable, a first-person narrative-driven game about metagaming. Back in those days, she played it all the time, until she decided she was going to get a silly little achievement where she doesn't play the game for 5 years. It's now been 7. She's just now getting back to it. And it's definitely because she's an overachiever, and not because she forgot that the game existed entirely. She would never do that. Well, she's only a year late for the Ultra Deluxe edition of the Stanley Parable, so I'll let her mark that as a W in her books. As a refresher, the Stanley Parable is a game where you play as a man named Stanley. Stanley works in an office, pushing buttons all day, and he swears he's happy.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Nah, I feel like being ornery.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Okay.
One day, he shows up to work but to find all of his coworkers have gone missing, and it's up to you to lead him through the office building to solve this mystery.
Okay. Do I have to hit a button or is this going to stop?
And that's where your choices begin.
So much of
The game about choice. First, whether to leave your office and explore the empty office building in front of you, or to branch out, following the narrator's instructions and seeing where it may lead you. Or you can defy the narrator and go off on your own adventure, because why wouldn't you want to do that? It's not like he spent a lot of time building a story for you to follow and a wonderful ending for you to experience. No, no, no. You can be curious. You can explore all the other endings that the game has to offer, I suppose. Even endings that aren't particularly endings. If you like music, or musical games, this might not be the right game to play. There really isn't much in terms of music. It's mostly ambient sounds. There's sometimes music when the narrator wants to drive things up a bit, make things a bit more exciting. But there are certain paths you have to take in order to earn those little musical snippets.
It's always madness,
Leading your adventures throughout this exciting office building is what I imagine to be a handsome and debonair and definitely helpful narrator who's carefully crafted a story that's going to lead you into an area of wonder. Now, all you must do is listen carefully to the narrator's instructions. What are you doing, Britt? That's not where he told you to go. Turn Stanley around right now. No, don't go back in the broom closet again. We've been over this. Okay, well, maybe she'll get back on track. There's multiple exciting endings to this game, but it's hard to say if the game ever really ends. Perhaps you should give it another go. Just keep playing. Keep playing. Keep playing. Now, a good draw to Britt's return to this game was obviously the superior and high-class Ultra Deluxe edition of the Stanley Parable. It's got some new graphics. It looks very clean and sharp. And even some new moves that you didn't have in the original edition. Far from the days of just walking and clicking. Now you can do that, and crouch, and even jump. As long as you're in that jump circle, and you haven't used up all your jumps already. That would be really embarrassing if you just used up all your jumps in one go, wouldn't it? Yes, of course you did. There's also a multitude of new and fun, exciting endings and environments to explore. Even new games in the famous games ending. tell you what they are, I'd give away the secret. It's definitely not because I'm not going to look them up. You also get a new compatriot at a point if you'd like him. A bucket. Yes, a reassurance bucket that will make you feel a little less lonely when the narrator's just being too much of an annoying bore. Though I don't see why you'd ever think that of such a esteemed colleague.
Can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well? I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they?
Sure.
All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Now, if you want the realest and the truest ending to either version of the Stanley Parable, the best decision would be to follow the narrator's instructions to the letter. And I mean, you do not stray from the path, and you let him finish every one of his sentences. This is of the utmost importance. This may leave you with some questions, though, about all the choices you didn't make. Is there an answer to whether or not all of your coworkers have disappeared? So much information just out of grasp. So why not just give it another playthrough? Maybe the narrator will give you different instructions. Or maybe you think that you know better than the narrator, then by all means, go do your own adventure. What does he care? He didn't put any work into the story or making sure you follow the right path and go where you need to go. Go on. Be my guest. Most of the replay value you'll get out of this game will come from how many endings you think you can get, especially if you've played the original, not as refined edition of the game, but no less superior.
One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
I mean, okay.
There's plenty of endings in the original version, plus those and the new ones in the new version. So it really just depends on how many hours you want to dump figuring out how many tales of ends the story has. Overall, that can make the game seem quite a bit dull, especially if you went back and played the original version before diving back into the new version. Things can get a little repetitive, admittedly. It does tell an interesting story and message about choices you make, choices you don't make, as well as a sunk cost fallacy, so to speak. Once you get up from the game and figure out you've spent 8 hours playing this game only to get a finite amount of endings. It's an enjoyable experience, but maybe not one that everyone wants to keep coming back to again and again and again and again and again and again. I've decided I'm going to rate this game 24 Ultra Deluxe Peaches. See how many hours it takes you to find every single delectable one. This has been Britt Rochelle, and I do hope you stay peachy. Britt, what do you mean you haven't found all the endings yet? What could possibly be more important than spending hours getting every single ending on the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Alright, fine. Yeah, I gotta admit, that's pretty impressive.